Why do we not take action even though we know it's not in our best interest?
Well, often it's because we're too distracted just trying to do day to day stuff, and we think somehow that's more important than moving the needle.
So the question is, what is it that you want to move the needle on? And oftentimes I've had the excuse that I got, so many ideas that I want to pursue my career in this direction, that direction. I've got 15 things I could be doing. And then you allow that clutter to just overpower your mind. And what ends up happening? You don't do anything. You're just frozen.
Yeah, and the clutter thing isn't just a thing that happens in your mind. You can literally look around you and see clutter all around you, occupying space. And that is something I think that most of us don't think enough about or don't consider enough, is that when we're holding on to things physically, we aren't allowing for new things to have space. And so if that's the case in our physical reality, you can bet that that's impacting our inner reality.
Or it could be the other way around. I mean, your mind is all cluttered because of all these things that we've been holding on to, and then it kind of expresses itself on the outside because you just don't move. So what's the first tip we can give you? Is to pick one thing that you really have your heart set on and go for it. Pursue it, because unless you're out there, you're not going to be able to do it. So part of this is you got to destroy the old so you can allow space for the new.
Yeah, I think it's that decision. Decide that you're actually going to commit to releasing something. And destroying something doesn't mean, like destruction. It could just be the destruction of what the releasing of something, the letting go of something that served a purpose before or was important to you at one time, but maybe today it's just taking up space, whether it's in here, or in your actual physical space.
By the way, my name is Raju Panjwani. I'm a certified leadership coach.
And I'm Triccia Ramos, a certified high performance coach. And we're here today to empower you to think about your current situation, because as the seasons change, and right now we're filming this video in November and leaves are falling, and that's such a beautiful way that nature demonstrates for us the importance of letting go and releasing and shedding of the old to make way for the new.
So energies are all there is around us, and we are nothing but energy. And if you allow your energy to flow and you're tapping into the inner energy, only then can you take some action. But most of us don't take action because of all the things we talked about and the day-to-day distractions and what's outside of you, as opposed to really tapping into that inner knowing of what you really are unique to express in the world.
And that's a second tip, right? Tap into your inner knowing. Now, how do you know if you're tapping into your inner knowing or if you're tapping into your ego? How do you know, right? I think that's a question sometimes I find myself asking. How do I know if the decision I'm about to make is being guided by my intuition or if it's being guided by my ego? Well, for me, I try to tune into, do I feel inspired or expansive in this moment? If by doing this, will I feel more free? And if that's the case, I know that's my intuition. If I'm tapping into my ego, it usually is not an expansive feeling. It usually feels more like a compromise or a settlement of some sort, or even fear. Or fear that if I let this thing go, if I release whatever this is I'm holding on to, I won't recognize myself anymore.
I think of it as a stick. One end of the stick is fear, and the other end of it is, call it love or freedom. And it's the same stick, because it's which end are you going to go on? Oftentimes the other side could also be courage, right? Because if you don't have fear, you're not going to have courage, right? So
it's not needed.
It's not needed. So, but fear is endemic to all of us. I mean, we are human beings programmed to be fearful of many things. And it's okay to accept and know that there is fear. So when it comes to a decision, as you were talking about, where does that decision making come from? If it's from a place of just pure love and joy and a feeling of, okay, I'm going to be bold in this case, or I'm going to just feel free inside of me, as opposed to being fearful, then you have a possibility of maybe stepping into something that you knew nothing about. And that's what scares us a lot of times. And it's just breaking that sort of shell of, if I don't know and it's not certain what's on the other side, I will not take the step. So it's about being comfortable with this next step, even though it seems the unknown. And I think that takes a lot of faith and courage.
The programming, like you said, yeah, that word is so important, because we are programmed to watch out for what can go wrong. I mean, think about it. You know, sometimes I go with my sister-in-law to the playground. She has two little kids, and you know, there's other little kids there with their parents playing. And I'm always amazed by some children who are running around free, and their parents are just so relaxed and so, they're just so kind of carefree. Like, they're not worried that something's going to happen to their child, right? Or their children. And then some children are, they just look like they're in fear. They're apprehensive, or maybe they aren't. They want to actually really explore and have fun, but their parents are really kind of on top of them and not really allowing for the exploration or the discovery to happen. And I hear you know, I don't have my own children, so I think that's part of what allows me to just be able to observe with no judgment. Some of the things I hear are, watch out for that. Don't do that or else you'll do this. You'll hurt yourself. And it's just, you can just see, I can actually just observe the difference between how those children respond to those comments versus the other children that are encouraged to play, to discover, to stretch. And unfortunately, the older we get, the more boundaries are placed upon us, and we sort of get conditioned to the limitations that, you know, society and the culture is placed on us. And if we don't free ourselves, tap into our own free will to free ourselves from that, man, you're always going to fear change or the unknown. And I really don't believe that that's the reason why we were put on this earth. I really don't believe that.
Well, but as you were describing that example, I feel like that's who I was as a child growing up. Don't do this, and you're going to die if you go into the water, and all this fears is so, anyway, as a child, you don't know. And if your parents are telling you, or people around you are telling you what not to do or what to do, you grow up with that. So, and unfortunately, by the time you get to have your own children and then you realize you're perpetuating the same behavior, oh my God, now we're in trouble, because now I have all, 4 kids, and I wonder what I've done to them. And don't do this and do this bit. But gladly, if you can catch that, as much as we can, practically speaking, there is then a possibility for change, because otherwise, how are we going to stem this tide of passing it down the generations of this negative fear programming?
Right, and I think you said it, because we can't change the past. We literally cannot go back in history and undo those things. What we can do is recognize and become aware to how we can choose differently in this present moment and then moving forward. Because we do have increased awareness, and with more awareness comes more responsibility.
Exactly.
And there is innate in all of us is a desire to ascend, to grow, to be better today than we were yesterday. And that goes for our generations, our lineage, There is that. I believe that we're here now, on this earth now, because part of our challenge is to heal past traumas, not just our own, but past generational trauma. And it's bringing awareness to this present moment that can create the change, because we always, in our grasp, have the ability to discern between this choice and that choice and this choice and that choice, and what the different outcomes can be.
So what's at risk for you is the question, right? What is at risk for you if you don't recognize this moment that, you know, I don't know any different, so I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing in the past? Well, that's not an option for you, because the fact that you're here, even listening to this, is probably because you know there is more to life than living the same life you've been living. So if there is something to change or take action for that you're not taking, what's at risk for you? What's at risk for the people you love? And do you want to foster change, or do you want to see change? I mean, all of this might sound sort of idealistic, iconoclastic, like, yeah, that's great, but I don't have to do that. Well, as a leader, you're responsible first to yourself, and then for the people you lead, in the community that you lead, and the family and the relationships you have with the people. I think you're responsible. If you are aware, you are responsible.
Even when you're not aware, you're responsible, right? We just live in such a connected world today. Whether you have, your own people, your own team, your own children, our actions really are in creating a ripple effect.
They are, whether we know it or not. So I'm saying, with awareness, now you have a greater responsibility to you and your extended family or friends and whoever you work with. So the other thing you could say easily is like, well, that's easy for you to say, but you don't know my trauma. You don't know what I've been through. Well, that's the thing. If we keep telling ourselves the same story of the traumas we've been through, we would never be able to make any changes. I mean, we have our own individual stories of trauma, near death, lots of things. But the point is that we can hold on to that and do nothing, or use that learning from that experience to foster a change. And I think, if you're sitting there trying to figure out, why am I not taking action for my big goals that you might have? Perhaps you want to write a book, perhaps you want to be a speaker, perhaps you want to do other things that you haven't been moving the needle on, because you're waiting for this big time that all things will go away, the job will be done, and you'll retire and live happily ever after. Unfortunately, that never happens, does it? Then you find yourself coming to the end of your life and get frustrated that you didn't do any of those things.
Consider this. The only person that needs to make a decision here is you. Maybe part of what's held you back too is that you're thinking you don't have the right husband or the right wife or the right mother. They're not supportive of you, not the right boss.
You don't live in the right place, right?
Yeah.
City is wrong, the job is wrong.
All these other reasons. And the truth is, until you own it and you believe in yourself, nobody has to believe in you. If you find yourself one of those lucky people that you feel like you have a supportive network of friends and family around you, after you watch this video, do us a favor and appreciate them and let them know that you don't take them for granted. To the rest of you watching that feel like you don't have anybody to support you, it's 2020, about to be 2021. There's many ways you can find communities. In fact, you can start by subscribing to this video and come on over to Facebook and join our Facebook group called Live Masterminds, so you can be a part of that community. But really, to go back to my original point, unless you are enrolled in your vision of yourself, you're not going to be able to enroll your spouse, your mother, your parent, anybody around you. So this is really an inside job first and foremost.
So in is the only way out, as we always say. So look within and join this community. Subscribe to this channel. There's either on the left or right of you, there are other talks we've done about, what gets you down, or perhaps decisiveness, or other elements of leadership, and being bold and courageous in life. So look us up, and there's more to this than what we've done here today.
And in the meantime, take an inspired action right now.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.